What's up, button mashers and key clackers? This week, it's a solo from yours truly, Jordan Ellis, your host for episode 21. And we have a surprise for you this week. One, I want to mention, we had talked about doing 3 recap episodes for E3. You may have noticed we never got that third one out. Evan and I have been insanely busy. Last week he did a solo episode because I didn't have the time, and this week I'm doing one because he didn't have the time. Don't worry, we're not going anywhere. We're still going to be around. It's just right now things are a little hectic, but we're doing what we can to get this content out for you guys. So this week I had the opportunity to interview the composer of the Outer Wilds original soundtrack, and his name's Andrew Prahlow. And man, it was really cool to be able to hear kind of his journey on creating that music and the inspirations that he had for bringing it, because as we've talked about on this show before, I think the first thing I said about Outer Wilds on our First Impressions episode was, man, I have one complaint about this game, and it's that I wish the music played more. And I stand by that. It is a fantastic soundtrack, and I haven't stopped listening to it ever since the game came out. And Andrew has done a lot of really cool things. He's done work with other composers on different movie trailers. I think he did one for Avengers Endgame. He was a part of an Academy Award spot for Beauty and the Beast. Did some things. He was part of the team that made the music for The Legend of Korra. If you've seen that show, it's a long list. He's got a lot of really cool things that he's been a part of. But really, in this interview, we kind of just focused on the Outer Wilds stuff. But man, he's very talented. And I hope you're as excited as I am about hearing what he had to say. So without further ado, let's get into it. I'm going to put that interview right in here, and I'll check back with you when it's done. What's up, button mashers and key clackers? This is Jordan Ellis coming at you here with an interview from Andrew Prahlow. He is the composer of Outer Wilds, which is a great game that we've actually done a little bit of reviewing on the show. So Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you?
Doing good. First off, I want to ask you a couple questions. How long have you been playing music?
I started playing trumpet when I was 9. And I'm 31 now, so whatever 31 minus 9 is, I guess that would be like 20-something years then.
Yeah.
So
was there kind of a primary instrument you played initially, or you kind of just messed
yeah,
around?
definitely. Yeah, I like grew up playing trumpet, like in orchestras and stuff, and was in band, and it was kind of like I guess when I started college, I wanted to do music tech, but then I realized I really just kind of wanted to learn how to record myself to get better at like writing music, and but the whole time, yeah, undergrad I did all trumpet performance, so that was my main thing. I started playing guitar when I was 11, so that kind of became my set. I mean, I play way more guitar now than I do trumpet, but yeah. Trumpet's definitely my primary.
What were some of like your bigger inspirations? I mean, I kind of grew up playing a little bit of music myself. Never stuck to it as much as you, because I definitely don't have the skill that you have. I mean, the Outer Wilds soundtrack, I haven't heard much of your other stuff, but man, I've heard a little bit that you've put on Instagram, and the Outer Wilds stuff is fantastic. I mean, it's such a huge part of the game.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it was, I mean, really exciting to be able to work on something where there's actual like musicians in the game playing the instruments, and like being able to like see that on screen was pretty incredible, honestly, like the first time I saw it. So
is this your first time working on a video game?
No. I've been working. This is the first or probably like this game was in development for like 7 years, so this was one of the first games I ever started working on, but
gotcha.
I mean, I did like a bunch of ambient stuff as an additional music composer on like Madden 15. And I worked on a game called Eclipse Edge of Light that came out last year, or no, in 2017, for Oculus, or it came out on Google Daydream and Oculus Go. And another project called Covert with the same company, White Elk, another VR title that was for Oculus Go. So I've done a couple titles. So.
Are you a fan of VR?
Yeah, I mean, it's really exciting to do. I mean, it's kind of like everyone who's doing it are pioneers right now. So, and there's not a huge user base, but I think over time it'll probably, once it becomes more accessible and less expensive, I think it has a chance to get a market.
I'm a big fan myself, so I was just curious. Are you much of a gamer?
Oh yeah. I've been gaming since I was 5. My first, I received for my 5th birthday, my grandma gave me one of the original Game Boys, and it came with Tetris and Super Mario Land. And ever since then, I was really hooked. So
that was it.
Yeah, I've always wanted to get into writing for video games. So it's been quite the journey to get to the point where I worked on something now that people are noticing, and it's been really, really exciting. It's kind of like a dream come true. So
yeah, Outer Wilds, man. If honestly, the music is such a big part of that game. For me, any game. I've talked about it on previous episodes of this podcast. I don't know how much of us you've listened to, but I mean, atmosphere in a game is a huge thing for me, and music is most of that. So that can be the difference between whether or not I keep playing a game or not. Have you played Outer Wilds? Have you beat it?
Oh yeah, I have not beaten the current version. Mostly I've been watching other people play it, but I mean, play testing it for years and years,
yeah.
I mean, I've played all of it at some point or another, but and I've been playing through with my friends, but I'd rather let them play it rather than me just show them, cuz I know how to get through all of it pretty much. So it's not exciting.
Yeah.
The whole thing's about exploring, and I've explored it plenty, so
yeah. I gotcha. But the wonder is a little gone when you've been working on it for that long. Yeah.
But I mean, I wouldn't say that's true though, because I can see other people's wonder when they explore it, and still I mean, I still jump on there all the time, just it's a fun game to mess around in, even if you're not trying to complete the actual storyline. It's fun to just try to do crazy stuff with the ship and just mess around.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good time, man. It's a very unique game. So how did you come to get hired to make the soundtrack for it?
Well, I had worked with Alex on a previous project. We were both at USC at the same time, going through the grad program, but mine was, I forget how many years his was, but my grad program was only 1 year. So I finished school, and then his grad thesis the next year was Outer Wilds, and he was like, hey, I'm thinking about making this game about camping in space. Do you want to work on it with me? And what kind of music do you think it would be? So immediately I thought of my friend's banjo.
Yeah.
And I mean, really, we took it from there. From the banjo led to adding the other musicians. So then we brought in the harmonica, and actually the flute sound in the game that I created with the her thing that plays the flute is me I'm blowing into a trumpet mute over the top of it, and it creates kind of this low sound, and then I just put it into EXS, and it's a sampler in Logic, and I kind of sampled it like you would old school Nintendo 64 instruments to kind of get that nostalgic Majora's Mask type of sound with that instrument, because a lot of it's live, but that one's I wanted to capture a little bit of that late 90s era video game music. So
that's really cool. So was this game kind of built around the music? Is kind of what it sounds like? It's kind of one of the first things y'all talked about.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's built around the music. It's built around exploring and being curious. And I think the fact that I mean, there's huge Zelda influences within this game, and like Ocarina of Time really touched on like how music can be a part of a world, and I've seen some parallels with like that, and people comparing that to the way music works in Outer Wilds, where there's like this tune that like can help you figure out where to go, or like how to like trying to track down the Outer Wilds ventures, aliens on the different planets. So yeah, it's like, I mean, it's cool to have the people in game playing instruments, like, so it does help. Like, it gave me a lot of opportunities to craft like such a unique score.
Yeah, because you can almost add some personality to each one, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite song from the soundtrack?
That's really tough. I mean, I'm really proud of like the Travelers music. Like just that, anything with the banjo I'm really proud of. Like, so Travelers, because it shows kind of how all the instruments connect together. And it goes into this cool ambient part at the end. And then I'm really proud of Castaways as well, because it like touches on like the Hearthian, or I mean, that touches on the Nomai like textures and like how they kind of convey emotion through their technology, and like how their technology is very musical. So I got to create a bunch of cool sounds for the Nomai, like kind of like musical sound effects, basically.
That's really cool. So, do you happen to know if there's any merch coming for Outer Wilds?
I believe so. Like, there's a merch store in the works. I know that's been announced. I'm really pushing for there to be a vinyl release. Yeah. So really cool. I really hope that happens. I'm not sure what's been announced as far as merch. I don't know like what I'm allowed to say, so I should probably leave it at that, because I don't want to get in trouble or anything.
Hey, I don't want to get you in trouble either.
Yeah.
So, you said you're a longtime gamer. I'm a bit curious. Do you have like a favorite game of all time? I know that's a hard question, but
the one that still sticks with me, and more like modern gaming, like I'd say like there's something about Shadow of Colossus. The first time I played that was just so like eerie. Yeah. And like it felt like you were in a dream almost the whole time, and even the ending of that game is just so like they leave so much open to interpretation on what it actually means. And also like that game does have a lot of Zelda influence as well. Like, I mean, and like I grew up playing like all those, and like I have fond memories of playing like Link's Awakening. And then like finally, like I remember thinking it was so cool. Oh, Link's Awakening DX, you can have like some colors in it now. Yeah. And then like it's exciting to see that they're re-releasing it again on Switch.
Yeah. I'm excited to play that.
And also, I really, really like Metal Gear Solid 2. I know that's a strange one to pick, but for some reason, like I remember like the first time I heard the music in that opening sequence, I was like, this is like a movie, like this is crazy. Yeah. And it was like the Harry Gregson Williams soundtrack, and like, and that game is also like really weird, honestly, like, and
sometimes it's just a way of saying it has some style.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess those are my top in like modern gaming. For classic gaming, I mean, I have really fond memories of playing like Contra on Nintendo and like entering the code and it still being like almost impossible to beat anyways. Yeah.
I think, you know, it's funny, I have to confess, I've never played Shadow of the Colossus.
Oh, you gotta play it. There was like a remake or a remaster, and then I played that one, but then like a year or two later they made like a remake, and I actually haven't played like the new one, but I think it's just like super just amped up graphics wise. Like I'm not sure, I don't know, like it got good reviews, so I'm sure it's like really fun and just like helps modernize it a little bit, but yeah, it's a cool game. You should check it out. It's not super long. It's only like probably like 15-20 hours maybe.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I've been told, one of my good friends is a big fan, been told time and time again, need to play it. Mm-hmm. Do you have any upcoming projects, game related or otherwise?
Yes, I do, but it's still under...
Nothing you can talk about.
Nothing I can talk about right now. I am working on a bunch of trailer music with someone I write with very often named Mark Petrie. So that will be being recorded, kind of starting now through the fall. But I'm not sure when they're going to release it because it kind of has to go through a whole process. So I've been focusing on that right now and like really focusing on like all this Outer Wilds stuff because it just came out. So
yeah, taking a lot of your time.
Yep.
So you talked a little bit about how this all started in college with your friend talking about his game, making music. What are some of the like big hardships from this 7-year development process when it came to making the soundtrack for this game?
I think like the biggest hardship was definitely when we were trying to really fine tune everything. Like in 2015, we finally like our beta like got into the Independent Games Festival at GDC, and then we won some. Like we were all shocked that our beta won like Indie Game of the Year, basically.
Yeah.
Because the game wasn't like, I mean, it was playable, but it definitely wasn't polished yet. And then it was kind of like from there, like just trying to secure funding to be able to like have a team that was able to like kind of finish the game and like get the quality from like a student beta project into like indie, like high standard, like polished environment with like a story and like a way to, because really the core of the game is very similar to the beta. It's just like polished and there's like all the story that wasn't in the original. Like there was a little bit in Timber Hearth, but there's like so much dialogue in it now, and like that's kind of the whole basis of like how to explore and like how to like piquing people's curiosity, really.
Yeah. Seems to be the whole point of the game.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. We really appreciate it, Andrew. And where can people find you if they want to follow you? On your Instagram, Twitter, where are you focused?
Yeah, I'm definitely focused on Instagram. So you can just find me on Instagram at Andrew Prahlow. I am on Twitter. I started using it more since the game came out. But I mean, I'm not on there too often, but I'll respond to anybody. But Instagram's the easiest way to get a hold of me for sure. So
cool. Well, that wraps it up for this interview. Thank you so much for listening, and stay classy out there. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I had a really good time talking with Andrew through all this stuff, and just want to thank him once again for being on the show. Really, really appreciate it, and hopefully he'll be on the show again sometime. But thank you so much, everybody, for listening, and just congratulations to everybody at Mobius Digital as well, and Alex Beecham, the creative director, and congrats to Andrew on the success of this awesome game. If you haven't played it yet, go check it out. It is well worth your time. It is quite the journey. And also check out the soundtrack to Outer Wilds. You can listen to it on Spotify, and I believe it's on iTunes and in a few other places. And go follow Andrew on Instagram. He is at Andrew Prahlow, as he said, and that's Prahlow. Guys like this don't get enough appreciation for what they do. So go give them a follow, give them a shout out, and thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. Stay classy out there.